June 29th, 2025. The Black Sea is still and silent. 6 Russian military ferries, loaded with elite troops, armored vehicles, and ammunition, are moving quietly towards Ukraine's southern coast. They are ghosts on the water, creeping in under the cover of darkness, hidden from satellites, radar, and any watchful eye. This is the perfect infiltration, or so they think. On board these ships are over 380 Russian soldiers, 24 BTR-82A armored personnel carriers, and tons of explosives. The mission? A surprise landing designed to flank Ukraine's southern defenses. With everything carefully planned, no one expected anything to go wrong. Moscow believed their stealth plan would work, silent, untraceable, and devastating. But they had no idea they were being watched. As they moved westward from occupied Crimea, unaware that the Ukrainian military had anticipated their every move, the Ukrainian generals prepared a trap. What followed would change the course of the battle and teach the world that no plan is perfect, not until the war is over. At 3:14 a.m., the stillness of the Black Sea was shattered, but not by the Russian forces. From 6,000 meters above the sea, an unmarked UAV, a modified Ukrainian PD-2 reconnaissance drone, hovered between the thermal layers of the atmosphere. Its infrared sensors were finely tuned, mapping heat signatures below with surgical precision. This drone had been upgraded only 2 months earlier, equipped with enhanced data link capability and a stealth airframe coating designed to avoid detection. As it hovered silently, it spotted them. 6 thermal anomalies, moving in close formation with heat signatures consistent with diesel-powered engines and onboard personnel. These were the Russian ferries. The drone didn't attack. It didn't even make a sound. It simply watched and reported. Every 10 seconds, it sent encrypted bursts of telemetry, thermal data, and video to the Ukrainian Joint Operations Command in Kyiv. The images were clear, the data time-stamped, geotagged, and cross-verified by ground-based radar arrays. In this moment, the invasion was discovered, not by satellites or radar, but by a $30,000 UAV, hidden in plain sight miles above the Black Sea. Russia didn't know. They believed in the perfection of their stealth plan, but Ukraine, with time on its side, now had the advantage. In war, timing is often more lethal than firepower. At 3:16 a.m., just 2 minutes after the first drone report, an encrypted alert triggered inside a fortified military command bunker beneath Kyiv. The secure feed from the PD-2 UAV was routed directly to a war table where Ukraine's top generals, intelligence officers, and drone warfare analysts gathered. For several long seconds, no one spoke. Finally, General Anatoly Vashchenko, the commander of the Southern Operational Group, leaned forward, his eyes locked on the screen. The Russian ferries were exactly where he feared they would be, inside a critical stretch of southern coastline. If they landed, the Ukrainian frontline units in Mykolaiv would be surrounded within hours. "Don't fire, not yet," Vashchenko said calmly, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. The room was silent. They turned to him in disbelief. He pointed at a small gorge near the river delta, a natural acoustic shadow zone surrounded by ridgelines. "They won't hear the missiles coming if we hit them there. We wait 7 minutes. That's all we need." 7 minutes. That was the time Ukraine needed to prepare the next step, a surgical strike of devastating precision. In those precious minutes, everything would fall into place. By 3:23 a.m., everything was in position. Russia, still believing their stealth plan was flawless, continued moving westward. Ukraine had drawn a line, not on a map, but in time. They waited for the perfect kill zone. In those 7 minutes, Ukraine mobilized a plan based on speed, stealth, and perfect timing, not expensive jets or large-scale artillery. They relied on precision and efficiency. 3 Burevy MLRS launchers hidden 22 miles inland were prepared for action. A Ram-2 kamikaze drone, a converted LEA-100 platform, was readied for flight, and 2 R-360 Neptune cruise missiles, retrofitted for naval strikes, were loaded into mobile launchers under camouflage netting. The mission? A surprise landing designed to flank Ukraine's southern defenses. With everything carefully planned, no one expected anything to go wrong. Moscow believed their stealth plan would work, silent, untraceable, and devastating. But they had no idea they were being watched. At 4:42 a.m., the Russian convoy entered the designated kill zone. An inlet, surrounded by steep banks and soft marshland, it was perfect for absorbing radar signals and sound. But this was also the perfect trap. The 6 Russian ferries, still unaware of the danger, kept their tight formation, spaced precisely 40 meters apart to avoid collision. They were now just 17 seconds from destruction. At 4:42:13, a single command was transmitted from the Ukrainian war room: execute. The first strike came from inland. 3 Burevy MLRS launchers hidden in a wheat field unleashed a full salvo of 8,221mm rockets designed for saturation attacks. Each rocket carried a high-explosive fragmentation warhead capable of shredding armor and incinerating troops exposed to open air. The rockets arced up and screamed downward in a tight grid formation. 4 seconds later, the second layer of the strike hit. A Ram-2 kamikaze UAV dove from 5,000 feet, angling sharply at 70 degrees. Its 4-kilometer tandem charge warhead smashed into the wheelhouse of the lead ferry before detonating, igniting secondary explosions from onboard munitions. The shock waves staggered the remaining vessels. But the attack didn't stop there. From 60 kilometers away, 2 R-360 Neptune cruise missiles, flying just 15 feet above sea level to avoid radar detection, streaked towards the target. Using terrain contour matching and active radar seekers, the missiles locked onto the heat signatures of the ferry engines. One missile impacted dead center on the command ship. The second hit a vessel carrying fuel reserves, resulting in a fireball that illuminated the inlet as if it were daylight. In less than 150 seconds, the sea was boiling with fire, smoke, and chaos. Russian soldiers jumped into the cold water, only to be swallowed by shrapnel, waves, or fuel-fed flames. The assault was over almost as quickly as it began. All 6 ferries were destroyed, all 24 armored vehicles lost, over 320 Russian soldiers either killed or missing. Only 4 survivors were later picked up, burned, dazed, and incoherent. What made this strike historic wasn't just the scale of destruction, it was the efficiency. Ukraine had used no fighter jets, no satellites, and no billion-dollar systems. Just a drone, a few rockets, a tactical mind, and perfect timing. The loss to Russia? Over $120 million in hardware, 24 armored vehicles, and more than 300 elite soldiers, all wiped out in under 3 minutes. But the real damage was psychological. Russia had relied on silence, believing their amphibious operation was unseen and safe. But Ukraine had seen through the silence, using a low-cost UAV, costing only $30,000. This wasn't just a tactical defeat, it was a total collapse of Russia's confidence, a defeat exposed by intelligence, not firepower. By 4:47 a.m., the Black Sea was calm again. The 6 ferries were done, consumed by flames and debris. The Russian Ministry of Defense made no mention of the loss. Their evening briefing didn't acknowledge the amphibious operation, and Russian state media shifted focus to unrelated naval exercises in the Arctic. But in Kymi, at GRU headquarters, internal communications labeled the operation a failure. The leaked reports showed a complete blackout of the amphibious fleet since 3:30 a.m. Panic had begun to spread within Russian ranks. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, General Voshchenko was praised for his leadership. NATO analysts quickly highlighted the operation as a textbook case of low-cost denial warfare. European media dubbed it the Bay of Blinds. But what truly rattled Russian military thinkers wasn't the firepower, it was the recon breakthrough. Their so-called radar blind spot had been decoded, not neutralized. Ukraine hadn't jammed it, they had learned to see through it. This operation, which cost less than $2 million, showed the world that timing and intelligence could defeat brute force. Ukraine had struck with precision, timing, and technology far cheaper than anything Russia had deployed. The war had just entered a new phase. Ukraine had proven that in this conflict, victory was about brains, not brawn. And that was a lesson no one would soon forget. If you believe in the power of strategy over strength, if you think intelligence can make all the difference in modern warfare, subscribe and support our channel. Your voice helps us continue bringing these stories of modern combat to light. This war isn't just being fought with weapons, it's being fought with minds.